Awesome. Hi, today we're going to be doing our financial analysis presentation on the Hyatt Hotel Corporation. I'm Aaliyah Cook.
I'm Dane Morris.
I'm Theo Lear.
I'm Olivia Crisco.
And I'm Lauren Arian.
Cool. So first we're going to cover, what does this company do? Hyatt Hotels Corporation is a public and international hospitality company started by entrepreneur Jay Pritzker, who eventually was joined by his brother Donald in 1957. They first purchased the Hyatt House Motel in Los Angeles, pictured in that first black and white one, but have since expanded with 20 premier brands, over 950 all-inclusive wellness resort hotels in 67 different countries across 6 continents. Their competitors include companies like Marriott, Hilton, the Four Seasons, and other hotel and hospitality companies. Hyatt places a high value on their guest and employee care, which as EIM students, we understand the importance of creating that positive guest experience and employee culture. As a company, they also value family, sustainability, diversity, and inclusion.
All right, so for the Hyatt Corporation, we conducted both a horizontal and vertical analysis. The vertical analysis will allow us to draw easier comparisons with other companies' financial statements. Additionally, vertical analysis illustrates the importance of single items on the financial statements in comparison with the total revenue on the income statement and the total assets on the balance sheet. The horizontal analysis identifies the key drivers of financial performance, and from this, Hyatt can assess the relative changes and then project them for the future. All right, so on the income statement, we can see the effects of COVID right away after looking at the horizontal analysis. We can see that from 2019 to 2020, there is a 58.84% deduction in revenue, which is significant. And then we can also see the great net income loss from 766 million profit in 2019 to 703 million in deficit in 2020. Looking at the vertical analysis, we can also see the greater ratio of the expenses in relation to the revenue. For example, with the direct and selling general and administrative expenses, we see an increase of 96.8% from 2019 to 130.59% in 2020. All right, on the balance sheet, looking at our horizontal analysis, we can see that there was a slight increase in assets, an increase in total liabilities, and a decrease in total equity. And when looking at the vertical analysis, we can see the increased ratio of debt, which contributed to the liabilities. Looking at the long-term debt, we see the increase from 19.15% in 2019 to 32.69% in 2020. Additionally, we see a decrease in total stockholders' equity with the ratio with the total assets. We see a decrease of 47.07% in 2019 to just 35.17% in 2020.
Great, thanks, Dane. So now continuing on with our analysis, these are the ratios we decided to calculate. So in the category of liquidity, we have the current ratio. For financing, we calculated the debt ratio. And for activity, we calculated the total assets turnover ratio. And lastly, in the category of profitability, we decided to look at Hyatt's return on equity ratio. So starting with the current ratio, which gives us a general indication of Hyatt's ability to meet its current obligations, we got 2.6 in 2020, which means for every dollar in current liabilities there is, Hyatt has $2.60 in current assets. This is an increase from 2019's 1.57 times, which means Hyatt is investing in more liquid assets. Next is the debt ratio, which measures the proportion of all debts provided by lenders to finance all of Hyatt's assets. In 2020, this was 65%, which is an increase from 2019's 53%. This means that Hyatt is using an increasing amount of debt to finance its assets. Moving on, we have the total assets turnover ratio, which gives us an idea of the intensity by which all assets are used to generate revenue. In 2020, this number was 0.23 times, which means that for every dollar in assets Hyatt had, they had 23 cents in revenue. This number is actually a decrease from 2019, which can most likely be attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic. Lastly, we have the return on equity ratio. This tells us how profitable Hyatt is to its owners. Again, most likely due to the coronavirus, this ratio significantly decreased from 2019 to 2020. In 2019, Hyatt earned 19 cents of profit for every dollar on equity, which is in stark contrast to the 22 cents in profit they lost for every dollar only 1 year later.
As for the results, the Hyatt Corporation, when compared to the Marriott International and its other competitors, has a higher liquidity ratio, a lower debt ratio, and a lower total asset turnover for the fiscal year of 2020. Since the pandemic, the Hyatt Corporation has taken a hit with a negative 191.78% decrease in net income. The trends from 2018 and 2019 shows us that the Hyatt Corporation was growing prior to the pandemic.
Overall, Hyatt is doing better in the category of liquidity because it is investing more in liquid assets and therefore it's able to meet its current obligations. Hyatt is using an increasing amount of debt to finance the company's assets, making this a big weakness for the company. Another weakness is the return on equity for Hyatt owners. This has decreased a significant amount from 2019 to 2020. Okay, so here are our predictions for 2021. Our predictions were based on the assumption that the hospitality industry will see an increase in business due to the coronavirus slowing down and vaccines being widely available. We also based our predictions off of the company's income statement and balance sheet. We also referenced NASDAQ.com to come up with our numbers. So revenue will increase 275%. Profit for the year will increase 135%. Current assets will increase 33.45%. Total liabilities will increase 24.76%, and total liabilities in equity will increase 1.84%. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation.